If you have really bad bicep genetics or consider yourself to be torso dominant, then you need to watch this video because right now, I'll be sharing the #1 strategy of biasing your biceps from chin-ups. And I'll just say this, I don't care who you are. You will feel it and you will grow. So, what's the hack that I'm talking about? Occluded chin-ups. See, blood flow restriction training was once thought of as a meme or was used exclusively for older people and injured lifters. But as more data has come out, especially in recent times, we now know it's an effective way of gaining mass. To the point where we have legitimate experts like Chris Beardsley and Greg Knuckles referencing it. So how about we all leave our biases aside and experiment with something that may very well assist your arm growth? Because what is BFR training typically used for? Biceps, triceps, and quads. And we now know that's effective for compound movements. See, what inspired me to start doing this with chin-ups was a recent study on squats, comparing 30% of 1RM to 75%. And the conclusion was no differences in quad hypertrophy. So that's awesome to know that's not just leg extensions that get the job done. And so if we extrapolate that to chin-ups, which a lot of guys will swear is great for building bigger biceps, you can see why occlusion makes sense. Because they're already a good mass builder. This just takes it to another level by making the biceps be the limiting factor 100% of the time. It essentially guarantees arm dominance. You are skewing the ratio between back and biceps, which explains why you're so much weaker. When you fail, it's not that your back was physically incapable of doing more work. It's that you were literally unable to bend your arms further. Your biceps physically cannot help you anymore. It's like me telling you to do barbell curls to failure and then attempting to do heavy weighted chins right after. You won't be able, even though the back is still the primary mover. That's what we're doing here, but it's not pre-exhaust. In this way, all we're really doing is turn the chin up into more of an isolation movement. Not that it's physically possible to do so, but from a muscle activation standpoint, biasing what you feel, the pump, the pain, where you fail, it'll be more in your biceps than your back. And that's all I'm trying to say. Just to say I can do over 30 normal chin-ups, but with occlusion, can barely hit 25. Why do you think that is? Therefore, if I still have reps in reserve left for my back, but not my biceps, what do you think the side effect's gonna be? Bigger biceps. It's such a simple concept that all of you will understand the moment you get in the trenches. And of course, trust the science. That said, there's other benefits too, like getting more out of less weight. You are literally going to use a fraction of the load, or in many cases, only use body weight, because occluded chin-ups are extremely difficult. You don't need to load up a bunch of plates. It's perfect for guys who have minimal equipment or just want to bang out some chins and get the hell out of the gym. There's a lot of gains to be milked with bodyweight training, and it's almost going to feel like you're a novice lifter again. Then when you're proficient, let's say hitting 3 sets of 15 as a bare minimum standard, you can start adding weight, but small amounts. 5 pounds, 10 pounds. And so another implication is being extremely easy on recovery. You're not only getting all kinds of blood flow, but you're not overly stressing the bicep tendon or being prone to developing golfer's elbow, which often happens when you go really heavy on chins. Anyone who got strong will tell you this, which is why you have to periodize that much more. But with this, it's pretty much dummy proof. Combined with gymnastic rings or anything that allows for natural wrist rotation, and you'll never feel beat up. It's all muscular contractions, pump, feeling great from session to session, including the back, because you're not inducing a crazy way to stretch, which is known to get people extremely sore and under-recovered. In this way, if you had other back training scheduled for the week, occluded chin-ups won't bleed into that as much. Pretty cool, right? There's a lot to be gained from doing occluded chin-ups. So how about we dive into the methods of programming them? First thing I'll mention is that the studies done on occlusion training use a typical set and rep approach of 4 sets, the first being 30 repetitions and the last 3 being 15 repetitions. So it's 30, 15, 15, 15. Hence equating to about 30% of your 1 rep max. Now, for anyone who paid attention to what I just said, you'll know that this is almost impossible for 99% of you. You have to be extremely advanced to be able to do that on chin-ups, especially since 45 seconds between sets is normally advised. So I'm not going to recommend that classic approach unless you use reverse bands, which would in fact be a viable option, but I don't think is necessary because BFR is still effective with moderate repetitions, and we're only doing this to get a muscle biasing effect. So I personally recommend staying in the 8 to 15 rep range and resting 2 minutes between sets. That's how you make this workable and realistic, because the normal approach is simply too intense for chin-ups and probably won't work in getting those exact sets and reps. Performance will drop hard since you'll be way too fatigued, to the point where you might be forced to do negatives only. And I don't want that for you guys. Hit regular sets and reps within a reasonable zone that's reproducible, and you'll get the best results. That said, I do agree with the concept of an activation set. This is your very first set that's bodyweight only, typically going to failure or really close to it. It's your rep PR that you try to improve on every single time. And of course, it creates the initial occlusion effect that affects the upcoming work sets. Regarding form, you'll want to use a close to medium grip and ensure that you're actually doing chin-ups as opposed to pull-ups. And if you want to be more on the neutral side, use a semi-supinated grip instead of full neutral. Otherwise, that'll bias the brachialis more, which is not what we want if we have really stubborn biceps. Secondly, keep a slight arm bend when you do your chin-ups. Don't fully lock out, but at the same time, don't do half reps. You want to get as close to your maximum range of motion as possible. It's just the tiniest unbend. Okay, this way we're trapping the blood in the muscle, which is already happening just by wearing these. Like if you put these on for a minute, you're going to see your veins popping out. So that combined with constant tension, which I don't really talk about much in this channel, but for occlusion, it works. Yeah, you're going to get the best results and your biceps will feel like they're freaking exploding. Comparable to curls, if not more. Oh, and on that topic, if you're going to do more than 5 sets, I'd actually recommend taking off the cuffs between sets and only put them back on when there's 1 minute left. So I told you, rest 2 minutes. On your final minute, you can put them back on. This will still be enough to give you that occlusion effect and shouldn't be as painful because the pump really will be mind-blowing to the point where even 20 minutes later, your biceps are still hot and fatigued. Finally, in terms of where to program these, I would use it in your curling slot. So it can actually replace isolation work or be introduced at the very start of an arm day. So if you have 3 movements for biceps, use this as your first. And with that said, I got nothing more to say about occluded chin-ups. Hope you found this video to be simple and informative, and please give them an honest shot because I know you'll be very impressed with the bicep sensation. So enjoy the gains. If you have any questions, ask away, and I'll talk to you next time.